Want to learn an easy way to set up a new Windows machine? Check out this episode of Tales from the Field.
Step 1, wake up early, gonna rise with the sun. Step 2, get some food in you. Step 3, think real hard about what you want to be. Step 4, everybody just do your thing.
Wake up, today's gonna be a good day.
Hi, welcome back to Tales from the Field. If this is your first time here on the channel, give us a like and a subscribe. If you have any questions or comments about this video, please leave it below in the comments. One of the most frustrating things to have to deal with is setting up a new machine for Azure development. You have to install all the different tools like Git or the Azure CLI, IDEs, all of that. When I was struggling to do that, I looked for a way to simplify and make a quick pass at installing these tools. When I started looking, I wanted to find something that I could script out, similar to package management in Linux, where you can script out installing certain tools. What I found was Windows actually has a package manager supported by the open source community called Chocolatey, and that's what we're going to go over here. So if we go over to the screen, you can see right here, this is a very plain and basic VM. Not anything going on here. I don't have anything installed. You can even see it's asking for a Windows update right now. So what I'm going to do is let's show and talk about what Chocolatey actually is. So Chocolatey is a community project which is really the largest repository of Windows package. So think of it again like a package manager in Linux, like apt. This is a package manager for Windows. It's got many different unique packages, plenty of installs, so the community and the software has been well used up to this point, and 7,000 of what they call known packages. Now, if we go over here to this tab in the repository, you can see that there's all kinds of things in there. You can install Google Chrome, Flash Player, Firefox if you're into that, Adobe Reader. But what I wanted to do was find things that will help me with my development. So in this case, let's look for SQL Server Management Studio, for instance. As you can see here, I can install the most current version. There's even older versions. So if you require an older version for an older version of SQL Server that you're running, you can script that out as well. All that is available here in Chocolatey, and Chocolatey is what we're going to use. But what I did is I started, before I knew about Chocolatey, and started building out what I called a machine setup script. And at this time, before I knew about Chocolatey, I was looking to script out execution of specific installers. Is there a way that I could get the most current installation path to download the installer? And what I quickly found when I started down that road was, oh my gosh, I still can't get away from the dang UI. I've still got to do points and clicks. And I could have got into MSI scripting and things like that, but that still would have limited me to installers that are MSI based. So I kind of hit a dead end until I found Chocolatey. Now, what my machine setup script does is I have it set up. It's a basic PowerShell script, and it goes through and runs some tasks. So I've given this installation, which is what we're going to step through when we get to it, of downloading the script itself, and then also setting the execution policy. We'll get to that. Now, what does the script do? That's a very good question. The script goes ahead and takes this list of packages from Chocolatey, ones that I deem needed for me to set up a workstation, like Kubernetes and Docker and Azure Data Studio, Visual Studio Code, Spotify, because who doesn't need music when you're doing dev work, Signal and Discord for communications, those basic tools. Now the script itself starts out and looks to see if you already have this packages file. If you don't like my default packages file, feel free to create a packages.txt file, name it so, and put it in the folder where we're going to run this script. Okay. The packages.txt file, again, using this software packages search from Chocolatey, you can go ahead and get the actual package names here as listed here in the window and just put those into the file, one package per line, and that'll work out perfectly. If you don't already have your own packages file, this is going to go ahead and download it from GitHub, the raw packages file, and output it into the folder, and then load a packages variable. Now through here, I used to have, I have Git installed separately because at one point, again, before I realized Chocolatey, I had it as a separate package installation and even a point and click. I have one here where I get the repo and actually clone it. This function is created, though not running at this time. Reason being, I wanted to have the repo clone down in case I wanted to add additional functionality, additional installers, additional post-deployment, executions, things like that. Right now, the function's just there, not executing. The other functions are get Chocolatey and then installing the Choco packages. As you can imagine, get Chocolatey is just installing Chocolatey itself, and then the install packages is a looping structure to loop through the packages.txt file. As you see here, I also have a couple post-deployment steps after the packages have been installed for specific packages that need additional configuration. For instance, when I install WSL 2, I need to set the default version to 2 before I start installing distros. If you're not aware, WSL is Windows Subsystem for Linux. Windows Subsystem for Linux is version 1 that comes in Windows. There is a version 2 with additional functionality. So again, I use this to set the version to 2 before I install specific Linux distro for WSL. I install, I think, Ubuntu and I believe Kali. But again, I want to make sure that that is set before we install those distros so that I don't have to then go back and upgrade them later. Also, I installed a Kubernetes CLI. To do that, I need to create a configuration file in the .cube folder. In this case, I need to create the .cube directory and the file for kubectl to create it. So here, this goes ahead and does this. That function, or that if statement in that function does that. Here at the end, I just go ahead, install Chocolatey, install Git, and then the packages. Very simple script, only 61 lines. Probably could have been a lot less. But again, very simple, straightforward. So what we're going to do this demo is we're going to go back into the machine setup and we're going to pin this to the side of Windows, quick keyboard shortcut, and then we're going to go ahead and open Windows PowerShell, right? So to do that, we're going to just type in PowerShell right here. We can use the default PowerShell that comes in Windows 11. We don't need PowerShell Core yet. However, that is in my packages file. One important thing is, as you can see here, we're going to have to set the execution policy to unrestricted because this script is not signed. So to do that, we're going to need an administrator window of PowerShell. So to do that, when you go to open PowerShell, instead of just left clicking, you right click and hit run as administrator. This will open an administrator based instance of PowerShell. Now in this case, it asks you if you want to allow this to open administrator. We do, so I'm going to go ahead and click yes, and it's going to open it right here. Now again, to keep things side by side, I'm going to snap this to the right. There you go. Now we've got our PowerShell and we've got our code. Okay, so now I'm going to look through here, and the first step I have it do is to actually do what's called an invoke web request, which really just means like a curl statement to download the script. But when I go over to here to PowerShell, wait, I'm not in my user folder. Correct. When you run administrator PowerShell, it brings you in the system32 folder. We don't want to deploy anything there or download any scripts. So I'm going to teach you a little bit of shorthand. Shorthand in Linux and in PowerShell for your user folder is just the tilde key. So shift and then that key on a US keyboard to the left of 1 will give you the tilde. If you just do a change directory command to that, poof, I'm in my user folder. So now that we're in the user folder, we're in an administrative PowerShell, we're going to go ahead and paste that invoke web request statement. Again, this is like a Linux curl statement. All it is making an API or a web call out to this address, and we're going to take the output of that call and put it right into the file called machine-setup ps1. Right? So go ahead and hit enter on that. It goes really quick because, again, we've already established it's a 61-line text file is all that code or all that file is. So we're going to go ahead. We've saved that out there. Now the most important step, because without this step here, this is not going to run the script. We have to set the execution policy unrestricted. Now I want to put some disclaimers out there. This is really important. You do not want to do this on a consistent basis or set your execution policy unrestricted all the time. This is a very insecure way to go. Reason being, if you set execution policy unrestricted full time, that means anyone can run any script without any signature on the script on this machine. We do not want to do this. However, if we hit enter on this command, one of the things this tells us, besides the documentation to get a better understanding of execution policies, it actually tells us the same thing I said about security, but it gives us some multiple options. So it gives us yes, yes to all, no, no to all, or suspend. What we're going to focus on is the yes and yes to all, because we do need to set the execution policy unrestricted to execute this script. So yes and yes to all, the big difference is there. Yes to all will permanently set it. So it'll set it for multiple script executions. If you only select yes, it sets it yes for that specific session. So since we don't want to set this forever, we just want to set it for the session that we're doing, we're going to go ahead and hit yes in this case and hit enter. Quickly, that execution policy is changed. Now we can go ahead and run our script. To run a script in PowerShell, you're going to use the // and machine setup ps1, which is the name of the file. So that is the normal format for running any PowerShell file, script file. // and then the file name. In this case, we're going to go ahead and hit enter. Once I hit enter, you'll see this starts going immediately out to download the file, download the packages text file. It's already done that. Now it goes right into installing Chocolatey. As you can see here, it's going to go through and start installing Chocolatey and now Git. And what we're going to do is, through the magic of video editing, I'm going to go ahead and fast forward to when the script is done. See you in half a second. Welcome back. As you can see here on the screen, we have our script. It's run successfully, installed all these lovely things in Chocolatey, or so Chocolatey says. Let's take a look. If we go in here, look, Discord, Signal, Azure Data Studio, Spotify. Let's see here, is VS Code there? VS Code is installed. Let's see, does it run though? It runs, it's perfectly set up, ready to go, vanilla installation. This is great. Now, what about Azure CLI? Okay, Azure CLI is a little bit different. We can't test it immediately in our PowerShell screen. We have to open up a new PowerShell session. You might be wondering why. Well, that's because as part of the Azure CLI installation, it updates the path variable. That way you can run an Azure CLI command in any folder on your machine. When a PowerShell session's open, that PowerShell session can't see changes made to the path variable because that's only loaded at the beginning of your PowerShell session. So what we're going to do is instead of using our existing session, because frankly, it's also unsecure from running unrestricted, we're going to go ahead and exit out of this and close that completely. And we're going to go ahead in here and open up just another PowerShell session. We're going to open it up under old PowerShell, but we see here, look, another success. PowerShell 7 is there. So PowerShell core got installed as well successfully. In this case, we're just going to use regular PowerShell. Going to open it up. It opens up just fine. Now let's check Azure CLI's version. Just a simple command. We don't have to log in or anything like that. Very simple, right? So we go ahead and hit enter on that. Come on. I think we're good. Yes, Azure CLI 248.1. So it's working perfectly. So as you can see here, we went through, used the machine setup script to install Chocolatey and install a bunch of our dev tools. And it worked perfectly. If you have any questions about the script or anything else about the video, leave them down in the comments. If you've seen something in the script that I'm doing absolutely wrong and you want to help me fix it, or you want to help me add additional functionality, head over to the GitHub repo. The link is in the description, and go ahead, open up an issue, or even better, submit a pull request and help me change the script itself. By all means, everything's open, but look forward to seeing your comments on the video and any issues or pull requests on the GitHub repo. Until next time, this is Josh Luedeman with Tales from the Field. Thank you for watching.